Joe Ferris on my left. Neither candidate has seen the questions that we're going to be asking them tonight, and I can attest to that because they were printed out about an hour ago. Each candidate, I'm going to go over the rules of the debate. Each candidate will be allotted a 3-minute introductory statement that will be followed by the debate questions. The candidate who will answer the first question, the candidate who was going to answer the first question, that was decided by a coin toss before. So Mayor Johnson will get the first question. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question, and there will be a 30-second rebuttal period allotted to the first candidate who answers a question. So if Mayor Johnson answers a question first, and Joe answers a question second, Mayor Johnson can go back with a 30-second rebuttal, and vice versa. At the end of the debate, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. We have a timer. Our Greene County reporter, Sean Ness, who's sitting in the front row, he'll let the candidates know when their time is running out. In an effort to get in as many questions as possible, we request that the audience refrains from yelling or anything during the debate, because we have a lot of questions. So let's start it. Mayor Johnson will be making his statement first.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you to the Register Star. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I'm going to give you a rundown of how this debate is going to go. You're going to hear a lot about things that I've done and the things that I'm going to do. And then you're going to hear a lot of fluff. And the reason why I say that is because my opponent has run on a campaign about competence. But if you saw his mailers, you'll notice that 4 out of the 6 mailers that he sent are illegal mailers. He's running on competence, but didn't even know that you had to have the paid-for by on the mailer. Not to mention, he made his announcement to say to the Democratic Committee, I'm going to have no less than 250 signatures on my petition. That's what he said. He only got 140. You know what that means? The Santa Claus candidate got more than him. So when you run on a platform of competence, I expect that candidate to actually show competence. And my opponent has not. When I ran in 2019, I knocked on doors, I held events, I had town halls. He's running on a platform saying that he's going to hold town halls, but he didn't hold not one town hall to actually introduce himself to you. I don't even know if you needed directions to get here today. I went to churches, I went to mosques, I spoke to the community, I reached out to people. He did not. He wanted to have a debate in every ward. Why? Because he wanted me to bring the crowd to introduce him to you. He didn't want to knock on your door. He wants to hold, and his thing is, he wants to have town halls. But no one knows who you are. You didn't bother to actually introduce yourself to this community. Even though I grew up here, I still came out and I still talk to everyone. And I can't wait to debate tonight. Thank you.
Thank you to the Register Star. Thank you to the mayor for joining us tonight. Thank you to everyone here and also everyone watching on YouTube. My name is Joe Ferris. I'm running as a pragmatic progressive, and I have knocked on doors. And what I have heard when I've knocked on doors is that people are concerned about the city. They do not care how long the candidates have lived here. They're concerned about $3 million in uncollected property taxes. They're concerned about $1 million budget shortfall. They're worried that City Hall is asleep at the wheel because they needed the assembly member and state senator to remind them to renew the hotel tax. Yeah, I'm running as a pragmatic person looking to build competence. And I don't understand what the bad thing is about having town halls in every ward, doing a newsletter, and also having open office hours. I look forward to sharing my vision for the city, and I'm excited to answer these questions, especially those from the community.
Okay, so we're going to open up the questions. The first subject we're going to touch on has 3 parts to it, so we'll take one part at a time, and it's affordable housing. Hudson locals are being driven out of the city as a result of apartment rental and home buying prices equaling and sometimes exceeding those in Brooklyn. Combine that with the lack of employment opportunities in the city or county to support the high housing costs. What is your plan to make housing affordable?
Now, when I ran on a platform that's housing, and that's been my biggest focus. So we wanted to look at housing through a wide lens. So we did multiple programs. Our Hudson Roots program has paid the back rent and first month's rent for over 200 citizens in this city. Because my goal is to keep people who want to live here and be rooted here in Hudson. Now, we also have building new structures. So we have Depot, which was 72 units of housing. And then we have Mill Street, which is another 72 units of housing. This is housing across the board for every level of wages. And that's what's really missing here. So my opponent will say, you know, whatever he needs to say, I've done this with action and shown that we can build housing here and that we want people to live in our community. Thank you.
I think it's important to remember that the mayor is the incumbent. He has been in office for 6 years. The current average rent on the market is $2,500. The average median income is $48,000, meaning those individuals can only afford a rent of $1,200. It has been more than half a decade. And we talk about the Depot District, well, what about the building across the street? Galvin dropped the ball on that. The city dropped the ball on that. This gets to the heart of competence. This gets to the heart of why we need a city hall that is focused on building, not telling us the ideas that they've been running on for the last 6 years.
Let's talk about the building that's being built and how right now that building is filled with applications, and most of those, 90% of those applications I just checked today are from this community. Our firefighters, our teachers, our nurses, everyone from this community. So I ran for 6 years, 3 of those years were COVID, and I led us through COVID and still built housing.
Ferris, what are you going to do as mayor to create unemployment?
Hard pass.
To create employment opportunities for residents that will pay for the high cost of housing?
Yeah. I mean, at the heart of that is you need more density. You need it in terms of affordable ADUs, duplexes, triplexes, more housing. That's why I support the HHA proposal. By building more density, it will appeal to companies to come here. Also, we need a city planner. That's what's at the heart of my plan for City Hall. Bringing a specialized staffer, which by the way was mentioned in the comprehensive plan that was released, to help us build a path forward. That is my focus.
Comprehensive plan that was completed by my administration. When we talk about employment, right now, we need housing, and that goes hand in hand with employment. The hospital has over 200 open positions. That's mainly because people can't afford to live here. So when I'm reaching out to entrepreneurs and I'm talking to community owners of shops and things like that. We want to make sure that they have staff to actually work in their stores. Oh, it's 30 seconds. I'm sorry. Yeah, no. And we want to make sure that we have staff to actually work in their stores. So one of the things that I was a part of and a co-writer of is the Mayoral grant that brought 75 jobs to this community. My opponent cannot say that. And I wasn't even the mayor when I did that.
Joe, you have a 30-second rebuttal?
Yeah, well, first off, I applaud the mayor for his work with the Mayoral. It's an incredible program. But second, this goes back to track record. We are talking about issues that if you look at the 2002 comprehensive plan, we're there. We're now talking about a 2025 comprehensive plan, and the issues have just gotten worse. You have to think about the fact of where we were in 2019 and where we are now, and we all lived through COVID, and we are here in 2025.
Thank you. Now, the third part of that question is, what are your plans to make home ownership a reality for residents? Mayor.
During my time as mayor, I've held at least 4 first home buyer town halls. During those town halls, we had everyone from the gamut. So we're talking about people who can give you loans, people who can assess your house, all of that, and encompassing and bringing people into the community to say, this is how you can go into home ownership. Not to mention, my campaign is focused on property owners as well. We brought in over $2 million to help property owners be able to restore their homes, be able to rent out units and bring them back online, and to make sure that everybody is be able to be rooted here.
Joe?
At this point, right now, tonight, 25% of housing units sit vacant. Galvin has countless numbers of livable properties that could be utilized. There is a path to use these properties to get us to a point where we can get Section 8 housing ownership. We need to have a fully fledged vision. And again, we are talking about issues that have been going on for decades here in Hudson, and nothing has changed.
The mayor has chosen not to rebut. Moving on to another subject, the city charter. There's some city residents who want to change the city's charter that will create a weakened mayoral position, reduce the common council, the number on the common council, and create a city manager's position. What is your position on the proposed charter change? And that goes to Joe.
I'm opposed to the current charter change for a handful of reasons, but I think the most important part here is that we do need to have a conversation about the charter, and I've been clear to both supporters and opponents of the charter revision that's been put forward that one of the first things I would do as mayor in City Hall is to convene a charter revision commission that is representative of our community, and one of those seats would include someone from the group that is currently pushing this proposal.
I also oppose this charter change. I think that it takes the democratic process out of Hudson. Hudson needs to elect leaders that represent them, that look like them, that share their ideals, and that they can hold accountable. This makes it so that somebody is hired by a committee who we won't be able to hold accountable. And I know they want to take the process, the political process out of it, but there are things that are happening that us as leaders and as mayors need to speak on, like immigration and all of these things that are happening nationally that affect us locally, and we need to know directly what our leaders think about and stand for.
Yep.
Okay, the second part of that question,
Yeah, right?
Sorry about that. You get a rebuttal.
No, there's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces. Yeah, I echo the concerns, but I think the charter change process can be an opportunity also to bring the community together. I think that is a critical component of the conversation that we'll have next year.
Thank you. The second part of my question is, if the charter change is approved by voters, and if you are elected, how will that change your approach to the mayor's position?
If this is what the citizens decide, then, I'll support it and I'll help with that transfer. I just think it's gonna be a very expensive process. I spoke with the folks in Yonkers who switched over to a city manager and then went back to a mayor. And one of the reasons why they said that they did it was because it costs so much money, because there has to be a transportation plan as well as, implementation, which is going to cost money. So I would definitely support it if this is what the citizens want, but more importantly, I think that from the public hearing, the citizens do not want this.
If I find myself in the bizarrely fortunate and unfortunate situation to be mayor with only 2 years left as a strong mayor, I would focus on two things. First, the agenda that I'm laying forward, and then second, because at the heart of being mayor is about public service, serving the public. And if they have voted for this different style of government, I will do everything in my power in my office to ensure that it is as smooth as possible for the people.
Chooses not to rebut again. All right. Switching gears. We're going to the budget. The city budget has increased about $1 million per year over the past 5 years, resulting in property tax increases. How will you, as mayor, rein in costs? And that goes to Joe.
I think the important thing to keep in mind here is that we have a $20 million city budget. Currently have $1 million budget shortfall. And with the craziness that is going on the federal level, we need to be very concerned about where we are going. And I think the most important first step is to have the state come in and audit our budget and make sure that what we are doing is in line, and that's our starting point. And another thing is, if property taxes went up 1.5% last year, since 2021, the mayor has given himself a $25,000 raise. If elected, I won't raise my salary by a penny.
Let me clear up that bad information. Number one, I don't have the power to give myself a raise. Number two, when I came in, the mayor's salary was $55,000. It was one of the lowest salaries in the city. So I was making almost $15,000 less than the youth center director, than the clerk, $20,000 less than the clerk. But yet, if you read the community boards, everything's my fault. So I think that the mayor should be making more money. He won't have to raise his salary because the BEA already did that and made it possible. And about the budget, they talk about this $1 million shortfall. That is also wrong information. Now, when we get a grant, when the big check comes in, we can't cash that giant check. So the city has to bond out for that money, and then we get reimbursed after the work is done. That's why there's a shortfall. It's not because the city is mismanaging money, it's because we are waiting to be reimbursed by the federal government or the state. That's the whole issue. But my opponent knows nothing about this, so he just makes up things to say to you guys to run with.
I appreciate the mayor bringing up grants and bonds because it gets to the heart of the $3 million in uncollected property taxes. I'm gonna get a little wonky for a second, but I wanna walk you through it. When we get those state grants, we need to go to the bond market to get that money, as the mayor mentioned. The only thing, the big thing that the bond market looks at is our ability to bring in revenue. And that revenue is property taxes. And if they don't trust us to collect it, it's gonna make raising money and getting money from the bond markets that much more expensive, and that's gonna be money coming out of your pockets in higher taxes.
Thank you.
I just want to add, the city has an A+ rating.
The second part of that question is, how will you work to increase city revenue to avoid financial shortfalls? And that goes to the mayor first.
I'm going to try to answer this quickly, and it's because 1 minute is tough to get everything out. But one of the things that I did, as well as I was on multiple panels with mayors across New York State, along with Andrea Stewart-Cousins, fighting for marijuana legislation in the city. So that tax will come in as new tax dollars for us. Now, that was something that I pushed for. And really, when everyone else in the county was saying, you know, we're gonna opt out, I made sure Hudson stayed involved. In this last 30 seconds, I wanna address the last question, that statement that my opponent made. Now, when they talk about uncollected property taxes, there are 108 individuals on that list. We are in the middle of a housing crisis. So while he's demanding that those 108 people pay right away, I'm looking for resources, and we've been sitting down with the comptroller's office to figure out how can we help those who haven't been able to pay their taxes. Why? Because they got hit with incredible assessments in 2019, and they need help. So we should not be looking for the city to take over property of our neighbors. And my opponent puts that on every palm card and sends it all over the county because he doesn't know where the Hudson boundaries are.
Let me just respond here to a few things. One, it's a gross misstatement of my position. We have to make sure that people who are house rich but cash poor are not forced out of their house. But the longer it takes to actually get this process going, the more taxes they're gonna owe. We have been waiting for months on this issue, and it is critical. The question was about how do we raise revenue so we don't have to raise taxes. The important element here is to work with the county to try to get them to give more of the sales tax to the city of Hudson. We are the heart of the county, and we should get our fair share.
All right, we're gonna go to the planning board. How will you choose planning board members who can effectively balance the needs of the developers with the needs of the city residents and avoid lawsuits, which are costing taxpayers a lot of money? Joe?
Oh, cool, great. The planning board is essential to the future of Hudson. It makes decisions that will impact us for decades and generations. When people attend the planning board meetings, there is a palpable sense of frustration about how long the process takes, how convoluted the process takes. It is important, and I will, as mayor, make sure that we have a planning board that is representative of the different types of expertise that is needed for a planning board. Someone with real estate, someone with development, someone with environment, and most importantly, hiring a city planner so we're not paying for consultants. Having somebody in-house who knows the city and is responsible for this work in City Hall.
You guys might notice I'm hyped up tonight. That's because these guys been talking a lot, and like I don't like dirty politics, so I don't respond online and on blogs and all of this stuff. So like now when we're face to face, this is when I like to get it out. Now about the planning board. The planning board is a tough job because we're asking people to volunteer their time and their expertise to this position. Now, we've had members that have gotten bullied on certain projects and quit, and we've had people come in and, really took reins on things. I'm very, proud of the planning board that we have, even though they've been put through the ringer. There are certain topics in this city that are incredibly controversial, and other things, but, we really gotta have faith in our citizens and put them out there. If we're looking to have a professional planning board, we're gonna have to pay for that. My opponent wants a city planner. We have a planner on staff. This guy wants you guys to hire him so he can hire someone else to do the job. I am doing the job already, and I've been doing it for 6 years.
Just two quick things. First, to clear up some misunderstanding. I know it's a little confusing because city manager's on the ballot. City planner would be somebody working inside City Hall that has urban planning expertise. And the second thing is, I give a lot of credit to people who volunteer on the planning board. It is an overwhelming amount of work, but I also think there's a need for them to be able to work with the other agents or the other bodies here in the city, the preservation board, so that we can make sure that it is smooth line or streamlined as possible for both the boards and the developers and the community.
Thank you. Now we're going to talk about the county meeting the needs of the city. So Hudson is the county seat. Then there seems to be a disconnect on the county level on projects that may impact city residents. How do you think the county can improve and help Hudson in the future?
So one of the things is that, and I've been seeing our first ward supervisor, Randall Martindale, is have more communication with the community and be in front of the community and what's going on at the county level. Myself, even as mayor, I don't always know what's happening at the county level. A lot of the talk about 11 Warren Street, because that's what this question really is about. It's about 11 Warren Street. I had no clue that the county was taking over 11 Warren Street. That was something that they did in a private deal that the city cannot stop. We don't have any control over it. I don't have any communication about 11 Warren Street with any supervisors or at the county level. That was just something that they did without, the community's input of Hudson.
I just want you to take in the words that the mayor just said. He said he had no communication with the county, no knowledge of what was going on at 11 Warren Street. 11 Warren Street's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to fix the wound at the bottom of Warren, to build housing. And if the mayor's defending himself by saying he didn't know what's going on, it's not what a mayor should be doing.
I'll rebuttal that one. Now, the reason I'm saying this is not to make excuses, but to give facts. Now, we have 5 supervisors that represent Hudson. They were not even allowed to talk about this deal because it was done in an executive session and would be illegal. So by the time I found out that this was happening, it was the same time that the community was outraged. So there wasn't any mayor that was just sitting on his hands. I wasn't allowed to be a part of the process. I'm not a county representative.
Okay, so how would you, as mayor, work with the Hudson supervisors and the board to ensure the needs of the city residents are being heard and met at the county level?
I mean, I think at its very foundation, the most important thing is to develop direct, clear lines of communication. I was mocked earlier for my idea of having town halls in each ward, but it would be great if at those respective ward meetings, you would have the ward county supervisor there. It is about making sure that we in the city know what's going on in the county, and the county representatives know what we need here in the city. And that's what I promise.
Let me put my hat on. I really just wanted to show the Hudson Rail that I had hair. Now, I didn't mock my opponent about having town halls. I'm not talking about not having town halls. He is running for office. He wants your vote, but won't come to where you are to get it. Now, to talk about, the county positions, I would love to have the county supervisors meet with us all the time, come to our meetings, but we cannot make them do what we want them to do. Some of them come to the table, some of them work, some of them do not. Those that do not, we need to vote out. Or we need to have one county supervisor to represent the entire city of Hudson instead of 5.
I find a few things interesting here. First, one of the reasons the mayor is opposed to the charter change is because it would reduce the number of council members from 10 to 5, and here he's proposing to reduce from 5 to 1. Also, I believe, I'm a huge supporter of the proposed change on the county level to elect a county executive so that there's someone that we can hold accountable and someone from our supervisors can also hold accountable.
Okay. So now we're gonna venture into some federal stuff. With the ongoing attacks on immigrants, LGBTQ+ people, and other marginalized groups at the federal level, how would you, as mayor, ensure those groups and all residents of Hudson are safe?
Now, this is something that's very important to me because I came into office during the first Trump administration. And during that administration, I stood up to ICE. I intervened in ICE raids. I went and protected our community. Recently, I just spoke at the Capitol to talk about New York for All and make sure we pass that right away. This is something that needs to happen for our city. I sat down with police officers, our chief, our sheriff, and everyone. We implemented policies so that our officers do not cooperate with ICE. We are here to protect our citizens, not participate in kidnappings, and my opponent will go on a rant. Hold on, don't clap yet, because it's only 10 seconds. But my opponent will go on a rant and say all of these things, but he hasn't even introduced himself to Columbia County Sanctuary Movement. He doesn't know Brian. He doesn't know Duedo. He hasn't met Glow. But yet, he is going to step up for the immigrants in our community, and he hasn't even reached out to the one organization that does it? Come on, yeah.
I think it's important to remember that when given the chance, after DHS put Hudson on a list of sanctuary cities, the mayor said we weren't a sanctuary city. We were welcoming and inclusive. 17% of our population are foreign-born and from Latin America. If I were mayor, when we were put on the DHS list, I would have put out a strongly worded statement that we support everyone in our community. Second, convene a meeting with all appropriate agencies and the DA's office to make sure we were all on the same page. And while Hudson is small, we could connect with the other communities on that list across New York to stand up, because we know that Donald Trump is a bully, and the only thing that works is fighting back. And that's what I would do as mayor.
Everything he named, I did months ago. We've already done this already. The reason why I didn't put out a statement is because I didn't want to go get into a debate with the federal government and put a target on Hudson. I'd rather protect my community than protect my image to say that I'm doing something.
What do you see as the biggest challenge over the next few years for Hudson? And that goes to Joe.
The biggest challenge facing Hudson is our affordability crisis. We need housing at all levels. And I believe that we need to identify areas where we put affordable housing, market rate housing, and we need to get the 25% of vacant properties back on the rolls so people aren't displaced. Our seniors should be able to age in place. Families should be able to raise their children. Hudson should be a home for everyone.
Yeah, the issue in the next 5 years is definitely affordability. And that's something that we've been working on. And that's why when my opponent criticizes me about not going after our neighbors for property taxes, the seniors are the main population that are on that list. We had someone call my office and she said to me, and Justin, she said, I'm older now and I've lost my sight. I can no longer see, so when you guys send mailers to me, I couldn't read it. So now she owes, $10,000 in property taxes, and we're supposed to go after her? No, we're supposed to get her help. And that's what my plan is to do, is to keep Hudson moving in a forward motion, making sure that we can keep up with affordability. And that's why I have programs like our Universal Basic Income program that granted $500 every month to 128 individuals in our community that they can use with no strings attached. Wanted this.
So here's the thing about the uncollected property taxes. There are 6 that are above $100,000. Those are the people that we should be going after, not the elderly who owe $10,000. Those are the community that should deserve the type of place that they can age in, so they're no longer house rich and cash poor. It's about a plan. And I haven't heard a housing plan from my opponent in his answer.
Okay, the next question, going federal again. With the threats of the loss of federal grants to certain municipalities, counties, states, how are you going to navigate a loss of funding in the future during this administration?
Yeah, these are difficult times, and we are feeling the national level effects locally more now than ever. But one thing that we do have to do is build a relationship with our higher representatives. As the mayor, we cannot take on every fight. And that's why we have to lean on our assembly members. members. We have to bring our state senators to the table. We have to bring our lieutenant governor and governors to the table, and I've done all of that. In the past 6 years, you've seen more higher elected officials invested in Hudson than we ever have before. Why? Because they know that I'm here and I care about my community and I will hold their feet to the fire.
This might sound weird in a debate like this, but I agree with the mayor. It is about holding the state assembly member, state senator, our representative, our senators, their feet to the fire. And I want to take this opportunity to discuss something that I've heard across the city from certain folks, that the role of the mayor should not focus on state and federal issues. I couldn't disagree more. Right now in DC, Republicans want to cut $300 billion from SNAP. SNAP puts food on the tables of people across our community, and as mayor, I would fight to make sure that those types of programs are protected because they help everyone here.
He agreed with me, so I don't need to go up.
The city has seen an increase in home insecurity. What are you going to do to help those people in the city that are living in 7th Street Park?
The situation at 7th Street Park is unfortunate, not only for people who go through it, but for the individuals who are struggling with being homeless, going through mental health issues. And I think we really need a 360 plan. And I know the mayor's done good work on the wellness hub. I think we need to find a way to bring the police and mental health together to ensure that those who are homeless can find housing to begin the process to get off the streets, and for those who are struggling with mental health issues, that they get the care and aid that they deserve and the dignity that is supposed to be for everyone.
This is another topic that's close to me because I've been homeless. I've lived in the hotel structure that is provided by the county right now. And what my opponent mentioned is like alley-oop to me. You might as well vote for me because what he mentioned is the wellness hub, and that's something that's very, very, very dear to my heart. This hub will have a 30-bed homeless shelter, one that this county has never had, and it will be suite, so it's not like the structure of just cots and beds up in one room. This will be for people to have individual, private places where they can go. We want to take away all barriers, so there'll be suites that will be able for people who have pets to come in. And on this wellness hub will be, physical health services, mental health services, therapists, substance abuse. Just last night, I had a conversation with a resident, and she was talking about how hard it is to get treatment here. And the wellness hub will close that gap. Unfortunately for this citizen, who her son is my classmate, he passed away this morning because we don't have the right tools to help them. And I'm going to continue to push to get this wellness hub up and running, and it's going to be something that is going to be reciprocated throughout the state.
We're both Democrats after all, so we're not going to disagree on everything. But just on a personal level, I applaud the mayor's work on this issue as someone who grew up with parents who struggle with mental health issues, and as someone who's gone to therapy for 12 years, I think his candor and work on this is to be applauded.
Gentrification is a really dirty word to some people, but to others, it's a good word. What are you going to do to cater to the residents of Hudson versus the weekenders and the tourists?
I think, it's important to know that there's a fear in this community when anything new and vibrant comes, because that means to people that they're going to be pushed out. We have to make room and make place for people to be here so that the residents of Hudson can enjoy all of the new things that are coming. And that's why housing was my #1 priority. And that's why, in the next year and a half, there'll be 140 new units of housing on the market for people to go into. And for us who are raised here and, want to support our families here, we can't afford $300 socks. We want to be able to interact with our businesses and our people, how we want to on an affordable level.
I think that one of the big issues we face here in terms of gentrification is that one of our biggest and our growing economic sector is tourism. Workforce housing is essential, and we can't continue to allow for displacement of people who live in our community, and that's why it's essential to build more, but to build strategically. We need to have a plan. We can't just hop from one project to another, hope that Galvin doesn't forget to not knock down a building so they aren't able to build, and now we just have a hole in the street or in the neighborhood. It's about being consistent, it's about being forward-looking, and it's about having a plan that we can execute.
And you can read that plan on our Affordable Housing Action Plan on our website. cityofhudson.org, by the way.
Cityofhudson.org. Okay, we're going to take a few questions that were submitted to us at the Register Star over the past week. Alex submitted a question. What is your economic development vision for the city? Jeff?
Right now, the three largest economic sectors in our city are the hospital, the school, and tourism. We need to expand that base. One of the great opportunities that the state of New York provides is the Regional Economic Development Council, where they identify small businesses who want to grow in their community to be able to get the state funding they need. This is part and parcel of why we need a city planner who comes with the background and the expertise to lead our city and to help me lead the city and build an economic development plan that works for everyone.
As my opponent said, the largest employer is the hospital. The first thing we need to focus on is to get those 250 positions filled for our hospital. We are in a position where our hospital, which serves 2 counties, can leave the area. We need that workforce to be included. That's 250 jobs. And to do that, we need to build housing. We need to have transportation for people to get to that hospital. And then in this very school, which I graduated from, there are a number of positions open. We need to get those filled as well. Before we look to create all these new jobs, we have to fix what's here now.
As I've walked up and down Warren talking to businesses, we also need to make sure that the small businesses who are here can be part of that economic development. And what I have heard from everyone I've talked to is they never hear from City Hall. City Hall never tells them what's going on. And when you look at the official city Instagram page, it's not surprising. There hasn't been a post since April of 2024.
That's because we created an entire app to interact with there because people are not on Instagram. I'm sorry, I cheated.
We can talk about Instagram, but I'm good.
Question from Usha. What is your vision of Hudson and how is it different from your opponents?
My vision of Hudson is for everyone who wants to be here and live here, be able to live here in a safe and affordable way. It's not about who was born here, who was raised here, and all these things. Like, there's so many people that are new to our community that have done amazing things to incorporate themselves in the community, like Peter Frank, Tamar Adler, Christy Aspie, all of these folks who have come in and took on projects and done stuff. This guy came here 2 years ago. His biggest accomplishment is being on the board of the library, and then he thinks that he should be mayor to oversee the whole city without even interacting with the citizens. That is ridiculous. We have to make sure that everybody who wants to live here can live here comfortably and raise their families here. 10 seconds? Because I've never seen a community come together more than Hudson did during the pandemic. We showed what Hudson is all about. So while my opponent was living in New York City, running from his community, I stayed to lead in mine.
I'm not sure what the mayor's talking about in terms of running from my community. I was in Brooklyn caretaking for an 85-year-old father who died from COVID in a nursing home. Now I need to remember the question. Oh, the future of Hudson. I believe in a Hudson that is affordable for everyone. Like I said, seniors can age in place, families can raise their children here. But at the same time, we need to recognize that the Hudson River is both our greatest asset and an existential threat to the city. Higher rising sea levels will mean more flooding, it'll mean more storms, and we need to build a city that is resilient. So not people can just stay, but people can stay and live here safely.
How will you work to improve and protect the city's existing outdoor spaces, including Riverfront Park?
I think we need to move forward with the redevelopment, the redesign at Henry Hudson, because as I mentioned, it embraces resiliency. We need to continue to adapt those into our community. I also believe that there is a great opportunity to refurbish and bring back to life the pocket parks along Warren Street. And also, finally, I know that the Representative Josh Riley is putting in fund requests for 7th Street Park, but I would help advocate for that so that we have a city that is filled with greenery and open space from the 1st Ward to the 5th Ward.
Now, in the beginning of the debate, I told you guys you would hear a lot of fluff and you would hear a lot of things that I've done or I'm going to do. One of the things that I've done is finish up Promenade Hill Park. It's a beautiful park that we all can enjoy now. Also, 7th Street Park is what he's referring to. Josh Riley allocated this money because I asked him to. Because I want to make sure that we have investments in every park in our city. Under my administration, every single park in our city will be revitalized, or is currently being revitalized. We'll have a new park down on Charles Williams that will be better than any park in this county right now.
I'm being accused of lot of fluff. But what I haven't heard from the mayor on many of these questions is actual concrete examples of what he will do in the next 2 years.
I literally just built 3 parks.
The question is about the future.
There's 2 that are under construction. They haven't broke ground yet. I don't know. Do I need to rebut that? Okay, I will.
No.
I'll say it again.
No.
I literally just built 3 parks.
What do you think is the hardest part of serving as mayor?
I mean, I'm the only one that can answer that. I would say the hardest part of serving as mayor is it's a 24/7 job. My phone doesn't stop ringing. Wherever I'm at, if I'm in Walmart trying to buy broccoli, people are like, when are you gonna fix this pothole on Columbia Street? It's something that it just doesn't turn off. And I think what magnifies that is that when there's an issue that we need fixed, like housing or substance abuse, government doesn't always work as fast as we want it to. And I think for me, as someone who, I want to get in, I want to build, I want to fix stuff, I want to do things right away, it's so hard to have to wait around, compete against the capital region for grants and have to go through all these processes when all I want to do is help people.
From what I've seen from media outlets and social media, I imagine the hardest part is being attacked in bad faith. This is a tough job. It is an important job. You are responsible in so many ways, this position, for 5,800 people's well-being. And to wake up and to look at Facebook or to hear people taking pot shots at you is unfortunate. And I think regardless of who wins this primary and who wins in November, we all should make a better effort at good faith arguments. There's a lot of nuance on issues, but we can argue and find a way forward.
We should start with your mailers.
They're all fact.
That's all.
So when we were talking about housing affordability, neither of you were really specific. What housing plans do you want to enact if you're elected mayor?
Yeah. There are several important elements to a housing plan. The first is we need to make sure that the Bliss Towers redevelopment is approved and happens. It is a 2-year waiting list for people to get an apartment there. Second, we should identify areas where we can build duplexes and triplexes that fit the character of the neighborhood and provide people with apartments. And equally as important, I believe we need to hold Galvin's feet to the fire. They have gotten away with doing whatever they wanted for too long. The mayor, when he was running for this position in 2019, said, we need to know what Galvin is doing. That is what leadership is for. And if there's leadership that doesn't do it, then they should be removed and new leadership should be found. In the last 6 years, Galvin has gotten away with whatever they want.
Answer that twofold. In the last 6 years, Galvin hasn't gotten away with whatever they want. I've brought Galvin to the table on multiple issues. They put up $600,000 to help finish our park downtown. They put up $150,000 to give out to minority and women-owned businesses. They put up 100,000 to help out with Winter Walk and to take over that. When it was canceled, I helped bring it back. Now I'll go back to the housing issue. So what I want to do is to make sure that Mill Street gets built and finished. And then we have another project on State Street across from the old library. That project is also important because one of the things that we're going through is a child care crisis right now. We have no child care in the area. We are deemed by New York State as a child care desert. That housing will have affordable or free daycare at the bottom of it. And that's something that's so much important to us right now. So if we talk about a vision, we're talking about me actually building housing, me providing grants, not loans, to property owners, over $2 million and over, a dozen homes that are being helped right now. And this is a vision, this is action. Hudson, when I ran in 2019, Hudson kept saying, we need a vision, we need to talk about this. And everyone I talked to said, we want to see action. I've brought action in the last 6 years. I'm doing stuff. Every question that was asked up here, I've had answers for, and actual substance that I've done and put forth in this city.
Over the last 6 years, the housing crisis has gotten worse. I want to say that. Also, when it comes to Galvin, City Hall was asleep at the wheels when it came to the other building at the Depot District. They applied for a state grant that they weren't eligible for because they'd already knocked down the buildings. And then, a few months before the election, they decided to pull their application from the IDA. Galvin needs to be held responsible.
Okay. How are you going to make Hudson affordable for seniors? Simple question.
The first thing we have to do is give seniors the resources that they need. When I looked at all the seniors on the list of property tax owners, one thing that I sat down is I called a bunch of them and said, are you in the STAR program? That's something that helps them with their property taxes and can help pay. We need to make sure that we are giving seniors the resources to survive here. We are an aging population, but we have a limited amount of resources that we're providing to our seniors. So I want to make sure that we continue to bolster them.
It's early on, but I think one of the more positive developments in the city is the potential for JLE to be turned into housing for seniors. That is a critical opportunity to allow people to stay in the community that they have called home, and so they can age in place with dignity. Now, obviously, there's a lot of details that need to be hammered out around pilots and tax incentives, but I think the idea at its base is important, and we should do as much as we can to make this project happen, and happen in a way that is good for our seniors, but also good for our taxpayers.
I'll add to that. A lot of the success of that project and the talk of that project for JLE came from our housing justice director, who wrote a lot of the information for the development. I'll also talk about something else that I've done that people may not know about. So Providence Hall, where a lot of our seniors live, was recently purchased. On the IDA level, which I chair, I made sure that that purchase was going to make sure that no rents were raised, that they were going to get full renovations in their apartments. So that means new kitchens, new living rooms, and there will be no one displaced. I sat with each senior in that building and talked to them and made sure they felt safe and heard. And that process is going to start taking place soon.
Sorry about that. What can you do to help establish the middle class in Hudson to be single-family homeowners?
I think the important thing here is to build a mix of housing. We do need market rate, we definitely need affordable, we definitely need bliss towers, but there's that missing middle that I've been talking about. It's duplexes, it's triplexes, it's the opportunity for people to get on their feet and start home ownership. This is essential to building a well-rounded community that is representative of everyone who wants to live here.
I've heard a lot about bliss towers, and my opponent has never even taken a tour of bliss towers. I have, and I've brought multiple of our higher elected officials to bliss towers as well. So to keep mentioning bliss towers without putting any effort to reach out to the people of bliss towers is extremely disrespectful.
I didn't hear any policies.
What was the question? Been a long night.
Oh, the single-family ownership?
One of the hardest things about single-family ownership is the cost of housing in Hudson. So we can have programs that will give, a few $1,000s here for a down payment, but if houses are selling for $1 million, that money that we allocate to them is going to do nothing. We have to look for ways to bring down the cost of living and ways to build housing, and some of that may be outside of Hudson because we only have so much land.
Yeah, I can't believe I just heard the mayor say that people might need to leave Hudson to get housing.
Build housing.
What has the Housing Justice Director accomplished while they've been in the position?
So, helping our lodging tax get off the ground would be one thing, but also creating many housing initiatives like Hudson Roots, which I said earlier, helped over 200 families, as well as fulfilling the strongest housing pipeline in the capital region. That's not my opinion. That's something that came from Patterns for Progress, which is one of the premier, planning agencies who talk about housing. Not to mention our Housing Justice Director is a planner. So when people get up here and say, oh, Hudson has a planning gap, she literally has the certification and the education and is a planner.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating that the lodging tax comes up, especially since just a few weeks ago, we needed Assemblymember Barrett and State Senator Hinchy to call the city government to remind them that they hadn't asked for a reauthorization. Every year, at least this year, that lodging tax is expected to bring in $750,000. That would be $1.5 million lost over 2 years. What's going on? What happened? They successfully did it in 21, they successfully did it in 23. But for whatever reason, if the assembly member and state senator hadn't called, we would need to cover a $1.5 million budget hole, and that would come out of taxpayers' money or cuts to services.
Now this is why I say that my opponent doesn't really understand the job. I think that he thinks he's running for treasurer, but he's not. It is not the mayor's office job to keep up with these things. That is done in the treasury. But when we did find out that it was a last minute effort to get this done. I literally had the state representative meet me at the gym so that we can get it done, so we can continue to have all of this lodging tax money come in to help our community. There are multiple departments. You said, huh? I thought you had 10 seconds.
Do you have a plan to improve transportation in the city for people who don't have cars?
One of the most important transportation issues we're facing is a street safety issue. We have a crosswalk crisis in this city. There are far too many intersections that do not have painted crosswalks. The library at State and Fifth, where we asked our children and seniors to go, does not have a crosswalk. We have far too many intersections that are dangerous for both pedestrians and drivers. And as mayor, one of the first things I would do is come up with a list of the 10 most dangerous intersections, the 10 intersections that also need to have crosswalks, and create a short-term plan to address the issue and long-term plans to protect the safety of everyone in our community, no matter how young or old they are.
If you were out today, you see that they started the striping for the season for crosswalks. So it's happening right now. My opponent wants to create a list of dangerous intersections. I'm not sure what that's gonna do. Are you gonna hold that list up in traffic and say, I have the list, so be careful crossing? It's not gonna do anything if we don't put investment into it. And that investment is going to cost, and that's why my opponent dodges this question by just saying he's gonna create a list. What the hell is a list gonna do?
The list is a starting point, and as I mentioned, it would include short-term plans as well as long-term plans, because there are a lot of easy fixes to making intersections safer for everyone, and then there are longer-term, more capital-based ones that you will need. And just to be clear, the library intersection has never had crosswalks.
This is an email question from Z. Blue garbage bags are required for city residents who don't pay for private garbage removal service. How can you make the purchase of the bags more accessible to residents other than the machine in front of City Hall? What would you do? I know it's a hard-hitting question.
I gotta put my garbage out today.
First of all, our garbage bag machine is a staple of Hudson. One of the things that we're looking at is to make that machine better useful, making it ADA compliant, making it so that there's multiple ways to reach someone when there's an issue. That's something that we started talking about during the first budget process last September. We are looking at really trying to revitalize that process. It's hard because people need bags at all types of times. I know people love when the old ladies sold the bags in City Hall, but there was a reason why former mayors moved out of that process.
Well, I think if we do get rid of the vending machine, we should make sure it ends up in the library history room. I think, as the mayor mentioned, there's a need. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, history room jokes kill. And I believe that we're in the 21st century. We should find a way to make it easier for people to order these bags and not have to go to City Hall. We should be able to find a platform, to utilize a platform that people can order and it can come to their homes. I think we can find new ways to run our government that represent the year 2025.
Okay, so we have enough time left for the candidates to make their closing statements. You're gonna go first. So go ahead.
First off, thank you again for everyone who turned out, everyone who's watching on YouTube, to the Register Star, and to the mayor. I believe in Hudson. I believe in a Hudson that is affordable for all, that is livable for all. That is why I'm running for mayor. For 6 years, we've had a city hall that shrugs its shoulders at the problem and then jumps in at the 11th hour like the Colarusso situation. I plan to bring pragmatic progressivism to City Hall. That means running a competent office with a city planner. It means communication from my office to the community and from the community to my office. And I think it's time that we look at what is happening in Hudson, what has been happening in Hudson, and identify that the future is incredibly bright. Your vote is your voice. And I humbly ask for your support over special voting, special early voting, as well as on the 24th. Thank you so much.
How many of you guys remember this from 2019? Yep. Now, me and my opponent, we're not far apart on different things. What I want to see for this city, and my vision, is for people who want to live here and want to raise families here to be able to do so without always living in fear. And that means if you're an immigrant, that means if you were born and raised here, it does not matter. I want everybody to be settled here in Hudson. It's the most important part of the job. There was a lot of claims that have been made and the things that I want to address, because my opponent liked it to, he kept saying Galvin to make you guys go crazy. Galvin, Galvin, Galvin. And yes, I do live in a Galvin apartment, but I didn't always live in a Galvin apartment. When I moved to a Galvin apartment, it's because back in 2020, I was out fighting for the community and doing different things, and I started being stalked and harassed. So I had to move out of my current home and move into a Galvin apartment because I was on the list and that was the only available apartment. This is something that's been documented by the Register Star, documented by HPD, documented by state police. So when they keep saying, oh, he lives in Galvin or he lives in this and that, I will do it again 10 times over if it means protecting my 2 beautiful little girls. And with my last 30 seconds, I want to say, because I know that young people are going to be watching this streaming, I want to say to them that do not let this city ignore you because they feel like you went to Hudson High School and you're not enough, because you are. Because I graduated from here, and my opponent spent $20,000 and on his campaign and $7,000 on consultants just to get his ass whooped by a Hudson High graduate tonight. So you know what to do with your vote. Let's continue to move this city forward. All hands on deck. Vote for Kamal Johnson.
I want to thank everybody for coming out and attending this debate. And that's the end of it. So thank you.